Uh-oh. Spoke too soon. We have some turnage. If I'm lucky, I can get the main line off the back of this fitting. And then maybe I can just replace the whole rear passenger line and we'll have rear brakes. Maybe. Just maybe. Alright, so we have some progress. I was able to get one of the calipers off. I thought these were the caliper bolts. They're not. They actually hold this whole piston together, which is apparently a two-piece cast system, and it's got a clamshell in the middle. So, that leaked a lot of brake fluid out. Not ideal. None of the pistons are stuck, so that's good. But I'm trying to not have them fall out on me while I work on this piston and line over here. They're kind of just doing whatever the hell they want. I don't like that. My dad's got a special holder doohickey for that, but I'm too lazy to go get it. I want to see if I can get that guy off, or at the very least this guy off. I'll try and do this one since I haven't been able to fucking round it off yet. If I can get that one off, then I can hopefully be able to pull that in. I got this in free. I should hopefully be able to take that off. If I can get that off, then I can fish all of this through there, and then maybe get this up in the bench and get this out. That'd be nice. And if not, I'll throw everything back up in there. These guys have seen better days. This one has a broken lock washer. This one's about rusted through, so we'll ignore them and just put those right back on. And yeah, I'm just gonna generally try and not let these fall out because they really want to, and it's pissing me off. And stay tuned, I'll be back. Well, by some miracle, this guy just came off with like that much torque. So we're not totally gone on this side, and hopefully I can get this off, plug that line off, get that off, and then plug that off, and then hopefully get this line disconnected from that soft line, and then maybe, just maybe, we can put all that back together and not have to fuck around with everything. But I know that's not going to be the case. It's going to fight me. Alright, with only a mild amount of excessive force, we got this out, and it's a bit dirty down there. And I'm hoping that maybe if I just put an unholy amount of torque on some stuff, that maybe this will come off. And if it doesn't, then it just won't. And I'm hoping I can, at the very least, take that fitting and put that in the soft line, because I just replaced the soft line, to be able to, not have it leak all the brake fluid I managed to get in there. So we're going to do some clamping and some prying and some swearing and probably some heat, because I couldn't put any heat underneath the car because of the fiberglass and all the spider webs. And maybe if we're lucky, it'll pop out. Alright, after much grunting and groaning, we've got all of this plumbed back together. No idea if that's actually sealed or whatnot, but all of it's back on. And I'm only missing several chunks of my skin and a little bit of my sanity. And with a little bit of heat, I was finally able to get this guy to loosen up some. And I think I've got it off a quarter turn now. So there's light. And if I can get that off, I can do the exact same thing. Pop this guy off, and then hopefully get this guy out of here, and then shimmy, snake all of that, free that up, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have rear brakes at the very least. And Dad is going to take those into town and get the coupe cabras put on the back. And then when we finally work our way up to the front, he'll do the fronts. And then we should have tires, and we should have something approximate to brakes. Then we can finally work on the fuel system and seeing if this thing will idle. Alright, so some good news, bad news. Bad news is frame's a little bit soft over here. Just a bit. It's just on the back. Nothing major. I don't plan on doing any jumps in this thing. Good news is I got this side off. Could not get this doohickey out without taking the caliper off, but did finally get the caliper off. Fought me. I think about half broke this thumb again. So guess I've broken that thumb one whole time now. And we're just going to torch this guy like we did the other one, and pray it comes off like the other one, and pray we can get it back on like the other one. So I'm going to get to that. And with a little bit more direct heat, we got her free. So really should have been able to do that to begin with, but because the Corvette's fiberglass and everything else was fighting me. I just tried to get them off just by force and liquid wrench first. Really probably should have just done this to begin with, but I didn't know I was going to run into this kind of trouble. So I guess if you find yourself in this situation, just go ahead and do this, or just buy hard lines. I'm sure these are only like 20 bucks or something like that. You probably pre-bend them yourself, although this is kind of convoluted. Also, I think it's kind of stupid, but whatever. I don't know. GM really didn't want anyone working on these fucking cars, as far as I can tell, because they're a fucking nightmare just to get the brake caliper off. Good lord. But anywho, I'm gonna work this guy out of here. And hopefully that should still be free spinning, and I should be able to get the caliper back on. Alright, Dad's in the background talking about some guy getting cheap lobsters somewhere in New England right now, so I'm just doving over it. But as you can see, we have gotten fluid to the passenger rear caliper and is bled. Alright, so this guy is now bled-ish. We got bled both sides. We have fluid on both sides of the pistons. All 4 pistons are moving. I got Dad in there to hold down the clutch, and then I was able to spin these hubs, and then I got him in there to just press down on the pedal till it got firm, and I was not able to move either of these. So we have fluid. We have rear brakes. Both rear brakes are working, as far as I can tell. Although this has a posi in it, so maybe might not be, but pretty sure it's not because there was no slop. I couldn't move them at all. So we can't do a burnout because we don't have front brakes, but we do have rear brakes, so we can theoretically stop, which is good. And I came over here to double check my work, and I did confirm that we have a collapsed line. So this is the one that's collapsed, and interestingly, it is not factory. It is totally different. This one looks more like the ones I just put on there, sort of. This one looks better, sort of. It's kind of like coppery. It seems to be a lot less corroded. This one's kind of a little more jank, but it's got a lot more meat on it. But anywho, this was the one that was on the driver's side, and this was on passenger. And if I get this shop towel condom on it with a hole in it, as you can hear, blow through that one. However, if we take this one from the passenger side, and I try not to get asbestos in my mouth, absolutely nothing. So it was definitely a collapsed line. That was the problem. I wasn't just imagining it. So yeah, cheap fix. Don't have to get new calipers. May have to get the rotors turned. Probably need to get new pads, but we'll just not worry about it for now. We'll put that off. I gotta replace the mounting bolts anyway for the calipers. But I'm hoping this is the same problem on the front. I pray. Alright, well, Dad got one set of Chupacabras on, so I'm gonna hook those on here real quick, see how they look, and then hopefully I think I can get the jack stand under there and get the front end on jack stands without it sliding off and murdering me, I hope, maybe. I guess we're going to have to do the other side first, and then I think hopefully if we have 3 wheels off the ground and 1 on chocks, we can do the 4th over there and get everything on stands without killing myself in the process. And I'm hoping I can get them right back here on the frame rail, just kind of behind the tire where they're out of my way, because the alternative is putting them on the upper control arm, and I know that's going to cause me all sorts of hell trying to get these brake lines off, so I really don't want to do that. But I'm also not really certain where the balance of the car is, but I think if I get it right there, it'll be right in line with the engine, so we'll have the transmission behind it, and we should have good balance. So I'm going to throw these on here real quick, and we'll see how sexy they look. Oh yeah, them some sexy looking tires right there. Chupacabras fit good. Also got the front end on stands. I even managed to get 3 stands on there, all lined up. She is rock solid. Can't get her to shake. I'll put them right here, just where the frame starts to swoop, and we can get the new tires on now. Okie dokie, new tires and the Corvette rims are in the truck along with my cousin's golf cart batteries, and we're going to run in town and get Gormans to swap them for us. Alright, there's the other 2. Thank you, Gormans. If you're ever south of Charleston and need tires done, I recommend Gorman Brothers. They're good guys, always done me right. Cheap as hell too. 44 bucks. You ever just need tires taken off the rims? $5 a pop. Fantastic. Love them. Great company here in Hollywood, South Carolina. I'm gonna throw these back on the truck. Shit, doors are locked. Day in my life. Come home to charge batteries. There's a rattlesnake on the front porch, so I gotta go haul them 300 foot across the yard to go put them back in the woods. No, go that way, mister. If anyone ever tells you that cane brakes are violent, I just hauled this guy 300 foot across my yard, and he didn't even rattle once. Half dragging him on the ground. Come on now. Cane brakes just want to be left alone, especially when it's like 55 out. Come on, other way. Come over here. Over here, buddy. No. Okay, well now he's a little mad. Anywho, I'm gonna not be this far from one. I'll be back in a minute. Alright, now stay over there now. Alright, mister? I know there's squirrels here. Just wait. Alright, there they are on the car. Rattlesnake has been disposed of in the neighbor's woods, alive and well. Just a little chilly and sluggish. And we got some cobras on the Corvette. And just a word of advice, never, ever, ever, ever touch a venomous snake unless you know what you're doing. And I'm a biologist with a herpetological bent, so I halfway know what I'm doing. And I wouldn't have touched that thing if it wasn't, crawling up the side of my front porch while my dogs were out. But alternative is killing snakes, and I just don't like killing snakes, especially not cane brakes. Copperhead, yeah, maybe, but not rattlesnakes. They get enough bad rap as it is. I got too many damn squirrels eating my birdseed, so I want as many rattlesnakes around as I can get. Alright, so we're on to the front brakes now, and I have good news to report. This one did not fight at all. All I had to do was put the wrench on it, turn it, came right off. So that was great news. And this one over here took only a minimal amount of force. I had to come in here, and because it's missing one of the retainer clips, I tried to get the 5/8 on there, and it just wouldn't hold. And I tried to get the 3/8 on here, and as you can see, this has been in a couple fights before, and the 3/8 just wouldn't fit anymore. It's too galled up. So I just got 2 vice grips and just went clamp, clamp. And before I did anything, I came in here with the wire brush. I got it down pat now. Scrubbed all the mung out of the threads. I think the reason I had such a fight back there is because I didn't do that. So I had all of this dirt and oil cake and brake dust piled up on top of here, and I was just spraying it with penetrating oil, and it wasn't getting down into the threads. And so the penetrating oil was just sucking up into that grime. And what is going on with the artifacting here? That's strange. And it was just kind of sitting on top, and it wasn't getting down and penetrating. So I cleaned all that off, sprayed it, let it sit, and I just put 2 vice grips on there and went crack, came right off. And I was able to just get the 5/8 on this guy and just beat it with a mallet, break the torque, and those are going to come off just fine. But I did notice that they need a crush washer. Yeah, I am not particularly thrilled with these AC Delco Golds, because not only do they have a different design with this like weird cheapo clip thing on them, this thing, instead of having like a proper flare like these do, I mean it works, but it's cheap. They don't come with new retainer clips, and they don't come with crush washers, which I think is really kind of fucked. Come on, GM. But anywho, went to the hardware store, got 4 new clips, hopefully they're the right size, and I bought a pack of crush washers, and I'm pretty sure it's the 25/64 by 5/8 that'll fit on this, and if not, whatever, I'll make one of them fit. It's good enough. It's just got to seal brake fluid and not kill me. And yeah, so I'm gonna go around and replace all 4 clips on both the front and the back, and get those lines off, and then hopefully I'll be able to just bleed the front lines, and we'll be good. And hopefully this is not leaking out of that seam, and it's leaking like out of this piston, maybe. Hopefully. A man can dream. A man can hope. Alright, well, those went on without too much fuss at all. Both lines drip fluid, so we have fluid to the soft line, but neither line drip fluid when I took the soft line off there, then connected it from the caliper, and then plugged it back into the hard line and just let it dangle while it worked. And none of the soft lines dripped, so that tells me both of them were collapsed, or at least partially collapsed. But all that's on. This one was missing the retainer clip, which is why I had to buy some. This one was not, but I just replaced it anyway. I was going to do the back, but I pulled it off, and there's actually two on the back. So I just decided to leave them. They were both in good shape anyway. Both of them took force to go in. They were spring-loaded. But now I just have to hook up the sucky boy and purge both of these, confirm that we have brakes, and then we can do a proper bleed on them, and probably a flush. Also, got these guys out here, and I just want to confirm that they're collapsed. This is passenger, this is driver's side. So let me just get my shop towel condom on here so I don't get mouth cancer. Well, any more mouth cancer. And let's see. I'm going to say nothing. Yeah, nothing. That's passenger. Now, driver's side looked like it might have had some juice getting through it. But I'm really hoping it's just something I spilled on the caliper and that the caliper isn't actually split. Nope, that one's collapsed too, so that's a good sign. Well, I had a little bit of fluid come out of there. I think it's like 95% collapsed. But anywho, I think our caliper might be fine. I think that might be something I just like spilled on top of it. That leaked all down over here. That's probably power steering fluid or something. Or I probably dumped brake fluid on there and it ran down the hose or something or some shit like that. But it doesn't really feel like brake fluid, I don't think. No, it doesn't feel like brake fluid. It feels more like power steering. So hopefully our piston's actually in good shape. But anywho, I'm going to hook up the sucky boy, start a sucking, and then open up the master cylinder so it can pull fluid. And we're going to go to the other side first. And maybe, if we're lucky, we'll get fluid at all 4 calipers. Wish me luck. Oh, that's some nasty looking goo. But we got juice finally. Pulling lots of air. I'm going to let that bubble for a bit. And see how long it takes. I probably need to go crack the master too. I'm going to go do that. Alright, well I cracked the master and pumped the brakes about 10 times. And we seem to be where we are in the other cylinders. So I think it's good to probably close that one up and switch to the other side. Alright, this one's bled and it basically had no air in it. And I pumped the brakes and I'm pretty certain they work because both of these were free. And now neither of them will move. And also, it just finally dawned on me that this is supposed to look like that and not all blown out. I was wondering why it was designed like that. It's actually because I'm stupid. But yeah, that looks, a lot better and will keep me from spilling juice everywhere. So I'm going to put this guy back on and make sure it goes on one way. There we are. Stick that guy back on without spilling juice everywhere this time. And I'm going to go pump the pedal, see if it builds pressure. Wasn't really building a lot of pressure when I was doing it just a minute ago. But then again, no brake booster. So I can forgive it, plus no cover on top. We need the screwdriver for that. But I think we finally have brakes. And I'm going to throw the wheels back on there and try and spin these around and try and break up some of this rust just a little bit. And then I think it's finally time to move on to fuel system. Alright, so the wheels are back on, and we got one more little thing to fix. So the center caps came off when they were doing the tires. They just had to do them. So we preemptively took them off, but they don't really stay on that well. They just kind of fall off, and roads out here are pretty bumpy, and just one good bump and there goes the hubcap. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this black RTV that I got from my friend that's like 10 years old. I'm just going to put just a little dab, in like 3 spots. and let that set just so that it holds it on there. Nothing crazy, just, just a little tiny dollop. I'm going to go around and do all that and let that cure. That should hopefully stick that on there good enough, but then when we need to take them off, should just take, just a little bit of wooden mallet action to pop them off. So I'm going to do that right quick. You see, that's all I'm talking about. That should be just enough. And if it's not, we'll find them. And now I just have to make sure I line it up with the valve stem, and I probably should have lined up the wheel lock. That looks close enough, but we'll just smoosh that in there and give it a little bit of a wiggle. And that should be just enough to hold it, hopefully. Now I'm going to do that for the other three. Alright, those have been glued in place. These two on the driver's side were nice and tight. That one was pretty good. This one is cracked, so I had to double up on the RTV. Hopefully that'll stay on. I'll give them all a test in a couple days once it sets. So we meet again. Well, at least it's good to know you didn't get very far. Well, just don't bite me while I'm getting my trail camera card. Goodbye, Snake. Alright, I'm going to put my SD card back, and I'm going to trust you not to bite me in the ass. Alright? Your name's Dave now, by the way. Don't know why, but your name's Dave. So, just stay there for a minute while I fiddle with this. And I have to reset the time, so, anywho. We'll make ourselves acquainted. Alright, well that's been done. Dave didn't move, so thank you, Dave. Now, go back to whatever you're doing, but I would really appreciate it if you sat right there and ate all of the squirrels that keep setting off my trail camera that are not things that are interesting, because I see as many squirrels as I could ever want to see. And I would like you, Dave, to consume a squirrel, although I don't really think you're big enough to eat a full-grown squirrel yet, but you'll get there. One day, Dave. One day. Alright, so it is the next morning, or afternoon, and it looks like, regrettably, we do have a brake leak. There's a drip right there on the bottom of the caliper, and I am assuming that since it is wet up here, that it is probably one of the piston seals, which isn't too horrible. I've moved the tires, so don't worry about anything you see on the rotor. But hopefully we should be able to replace that ourselves. So I don't think we'll have to we won't have to buy another caliper at the very least. So I will look into that, but for now it should be good enough to stop the car. I don't plan on going 100 something and rallycross driving like Dad had this set up for. But noted, brake leak on one of the pistons on driver's side front caliper. And I think because of that, I'm not going to do like a full deep bleed on the brake system, because I was thinking about doing that, but if we've got a leak, there's no way that I'm going to actually be able to fully bleed the system. So I'm not going to worry about that so much. It's a very small leak. Any leak in a brake system is a big leak, but it is not a gushing leak, so we can band-aid it for now and at least get it to the point where we can drive this thing around the block. Also, power steering leaks, and I've confirmed it is power steering that is leaking, and it is the control valve because I moved the wheels and I was leaking again. Great. On the brand new concrete. Alright, so I tried to take the main supply line off of the fuel pump, and it ain't budging, even with my fancy pliers. And well, the hose clamp actually came off with no fight at all. But even with the fancy pliers, I can't get the thing to spin. It's still fairly rubbery, but I don't know if it's going to come out without a fight. I probably need to take it off the top and try it. But for the moment, I'm not going to mess with it. And I think I'm going to order some fuel line just to be safe, because I may have to cut that off. But anywho, while I'm under here, I see the fill bolt for the transmission, so I'm going to pop that off and stick a finger in there and see if I can feel transmission fluid. And if I can't, I'm going to probably jam the camera up there and see if you can. And if you can't, I'm going to get the borescope. And then we'll take a look at it. And if we still can't, then we're going to pull the drain plug and just refill the thing. Alright, well that guy's out. Took a little bit more force than I wanted, and it smells like transmission fluid. Or actually, it smells like diff fluid, honestly. And, yeah. I would say that's transmission fluid. So, we are good, and that was right there at the top. So I'm going to stick this back in. Just a little bit of metal on there. We won't let that hurt anybody. That's been RTV'd before, I think. And it was on there with a good bit of force. I had to beat that thing off. So, yeah, that might leak. But anywho, we're going to torque that back down and call the transmission good to go. Well, now that I'm out here in the sunlight, that ain't as red as I thought it was. That kind of looks like motor oil. It smells like gear oil. Seems a little thick too, and a bit burnt. So, might need to change on that. Alright, well, it's been a week, and regrettably, it looks like both of the front brake calipers are leaking, so they're going to at least have to be rebuilt. At worst, I'm going to have to buy new calipers, and if I'm getting in there doing the calipers, well, I might as well fucking do the rotors and the pads. Or at the very least, get the rotors turned, because I found out that actually the O'Reilly's in a town nearby turns rotors, which is a shock, because none of the auto parts stores in the last town I lived in turned rotors. But I think I can get the rotors turned, and I can just buy a new set of pads. And we should be able to do that. And if I'm going to do the front, might as well do the back. I already broke them free, so, well, hell, we're going to have to do that eventually, but I think we're still probably going to be good enough for now just to be able to test the thing. I'll just have to bleed it before we drive it, but that's a slight update. Alright, well, it's been another week, and if you look over yonder, looks like that first rear caliper is also leaking. So it's a good thing that I just ordered seals for all 4 calipers. So we're going to rebuild all 4 of them. Also means I got to replace those expensive copper crush washers I just bought, which kind of fucking sucks, but that's the dice you roll. But I grabbed a whole bunch of stuff. We got hoses for the fuel pump. I just went ahead and bought a new fuel pump. I got gaskets for the air cleaner so we can pull that off. We have to fiddle with the carb, all that jazz. So, anywho, we should be able to make some actual progress here shortly. And hopefully these seals I bought don't melt in .5 brake fluid, because they didn't specify. So anywho, we'll see. And if they do, then I guess we're going to .3. And if we're going to .3, then I might as well convert everything to O-rings then, because I'm going to have melted the seals. Anywho, money pit. So I bought this map gas torch yesterday because I'm sick and tired of waiting on propane to heat things up. So I figured this probably saved me a whole shit ton of time, and plus it just gets hotter than a propane torch. But I went and got the deluxe torch for the end of it because I figured it was another $8, might as well. I'm only going to buy one map gas torch in my life unless I do something stupid and blow this one up. But something that's always irked me about using these cylinders is you never have any place to put these like rubbery plastic caps that go on the threads, so that if you take that off you don't get a bunch of shit and sand and dirt and rust forming in there and fuck up your cylinder. Because I have a couple of cylinders that are fucked up because of that, because they've been stored for 40 years without a cap on them. And I just noticed something, and it's very satisfying. Look at that. You can just stick the cap right there on the regulator knob, and it just holds on perfectly. I don't know if that was intentional, but to the engineer who designed that to be the exact same circumference, thank you. It pleases my OCD greatly. Now, back to our regular scheduled programming. Well, and just like that, all 4 wheel cylinders are leaking. Well, good thing all the parts are finally in. Alright, well, while I build up the nerve and the patience to get back to working on the brakes, as well as jumping in the fuel system and the power steering system, I think we're just going to clean the windows, just to make some kind of forward progress. Also, just because I just spent the last 2 days cleaning, 4 other vehicles, and this one has the least amount of window out of all of them. So I figure, might as well already just do the damn Corvette since I've already done 4 other cars. So we have a selection of goodies here, including beer, which is for me, not for the Corvette. And we're going to clean the inside and outside of all the glass and all the mirrors. Then we're going to defog the inside, and then we're going to put rain repellent on all the outside mirrors, or all the outside mirrors and all the outside glass. So I've just used that in my own personal vehicle, as well as both of my parents' vehicles and my project car, in addition to the Corvette, which is kind of shared father-son project car / my dad's. But anywho, it seems to be working, and it doesn't seem to be making anything worse, and it does actually appear to be making everything better. So, as long as it doesn't melt the lacquer paint, I think we will be good. So I'm just going to go ahead and just clean everything and hope for the best. Alright, so here's what we're dealing with to start out. Pretty grody. Rear window is the worst because Dad couldn't get to it. He just sort of provisionally cleaned the outside of both of these. You know, mirrors are kind of bad, not terrible. But we're just going to clean all of it down, and I have stuck my flashlight in my rear pocket so that I don't scratch that all over the goddamn paint. And, yeah, we're just going to clean the hell out of all the glass, and, maybe we'll be able to see through the car. Maybe. Alright, I think I got arthritis now, but windows are much better. Still a little hazy. This is the Rain-X you see on it. These were really grimy. Like I used the spray away twice on the exterior, as well as the interior, and I was still taking dirt off of it when I was putting the fogger or the water repellent on it. So they got some smut stuck to them. They probably need something a little more aggressive, but we will do that another day. For now, they're pretty good. They're good enough to not run into a tree. So we'll call that progress. Y'all are some sad little Sisyphean creatures. Man, I am like the Bubbles for discarded wheelbarrows, not to steal one of Peg's jokes. Anywho, it's jort season again, which is March, and I think I'm going to attempt to remove these calipers and then plug off the lines and get to maybe rebuild them this afternoon. Maybe at least try one of the rears. I don't know. I'm hoping I can pull the calipers off and then spin them off without... Actually, I don't even have to do that. I just want to take them off without removing the soft lines so I don't have to waste copper washers. We'll see whether or not that is viable when I get them on the bench, because that rubber line might be a nightmare to deal with. But anywho, I'm going to try and take off the rears today. And hopefully, if we're lucky, I can try and rebuild one. Or at the very least, I'll just put them in a dish and stuff them out of the Corvette and work on them on a later date. Alright, rear calipers are off. They weren't too horrible since I had them off before. I took off this sway bar link, and it gave me enough clearance. I should have done that to begin with to get this line off, and then I just shoved a 7/32 vacuum cap over the flare on the line, and then just turned that just a little bit. Well, first I took this guy off because he's in the way of this. Then I took this guy off afterwards. Did the same thing on both sides. And yeah, so hopefully that will save me a bunch of fluid. And I'm leaving the brake pads in them for the minute. I was thinking about replacing them, but I think I'll just get the rotors turned, because I'm pretty sure these are asbestos brake pads, which are really good. And also, kind of don't want to breathe them a lot, but also not going to drive this car a lot. So that's kind of rare and vintage. So I'm just going to leave them on there. They look really good, other than all the, dirt and brake dust. So we might just pull them out and brake clean them and whatnot. I'll Google to see whether brake clean melts asbestos. It shouldn't. I don't know. I should probably double check that. Anywho, I'm going to do the fronts now. Should probably turn that wheel, and hopefully they come off. I haven't had them off before. Well, them's the brakes. So, all four of them came off. Front ones did not fight at all, pretty much. The front mounting bolts look to be in a lot better shape than the rear. Them grade 8s are sharp, by the way. They're on the car, but I bought new bolts, so I'll throw those on there. Probably need to take the rotors off and get them turned. No, they're perfectly fine. They're just covered in rust and brake dust and oil and other crap, but mechanically they seem to be fine. They're not warped or anything. I don't think Dad had... I think he pretty much did the brakes right before he parked it. But anywho, those are done. I noticed we have some, well, you can't see them over here, but we have some drips coming out of the cooling system down over there. It's just sort of rust water. I also bought a new fuel pump and a new molded S-hose running from the frame rail to the pump, because although that hose is still intact, it's pretty brittle, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get it off without cutting it, so I just went ahead and bought another one, and it was like $15, just threw that in there with the new fuel pump, so we'll call that a loss. And yeah, I think I'm going to go take another stab real quick at getting that fuel pump off, and I'm wondering how much varnish is down in those lines. It could be nothing, or it could be some horrid black sludge that we just pumped up into the carburetor when we ran it for however many seconds. Fun. Alright, here comes the money shot. Is anything horrid going to come out the bottom of the fuel pump? Nothing. Absolutely bone dry. I think I even saw dust come out, so that's a good sign. The fuel pump might actually be savable. If that's the inlet, I think I'm gonna go disconnect all the other lines, and if nothing comes out of any of them, we may be good. Was not expecting that. Alright, well, the top of the inlet line is not coming off, so we're gonna let sleeping dogs lie, but I did just take a 5/8 and break this hard line for the outlet going to the carburetor off, and we'll see what kind of goo falls out. Oh, that is no. Oh, no. Let's just get it all out. Just let it out. Oh my fucking Christ. Well, that is like a combination of Moroso and like tetraethyl lead. Oh God, it's getting near me. Where the fuck is that coming from? What the fuck? Well, oh, it's coming off the control arm. Well, I'm going to go, clean that up. And, I guess I'll go take that fuel filter off and, blow through it and see if I can get all that come out. But, I'm very glad I took that off. Holy hot fuck. Anywho, the reason why I wanted to get the inlet line off is so that I could, purge all of that out of the engine. You know, just disconnect the outlet and the inlet, hook the inlet up to clean gas, and then just run it into a bucket, or hook up a sucky boy, and holy shit, I'm not even gonna, I want to touch it, but oh man, oh, that is like 20 W50. Ugh. Anywho, I'm gonna go wash my hand because I'm pretty sure there's Moroso on there, and we still got a couple cans of that. Ugh. Up here somewhere. Yeah, and it's got a lot of that on it. So especially that one where it says fatal if absorbed through skin. So I'm gonna wash my hand. All right, well that guy just came out, so I think I'm just going to do one of these. Well, nothing came out, so I think we just had about maybe a teaspoon, maybe a tablespoon of molasses down in there, so I think just a quick runabout, maybe a quart through there, I think that would probably solve it. So I'm just gonna finagle this guy back down on wherever the hell that was supposed to be. I'm just gonna get all the soot and sand right there into the outlet line, because I got a fuel filter, so I'm not worried. Okie dokie, so I'm in here poking around in the Corvette during a rainstorm, as one does, and I realized I probably need to take the return line off the fuel pump and make sure that there's not any goo coming out of that either. But I also realized I can just take the air cleaner off. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. I thought this gasket was going to explode or something, but it just came right off. I didn't even have to take it off of the PCV down here. But anywho, got that off, and I have been playing with the accelerator pump, just checking to see if any kind of goo comes out. And this stupid Rochester will let me get a thumbnail on there. push it a whole bunch, and so far I can't see anything down in there to indicate that it's spitting anything. I'm confident there's probably that same pile of molasses down in the bottom of the fuel bowl, but I gotta look up how to get. I don't know how to. I know nothing about Rochesters, so shit. I don't know anything about 4 barrels at all. I'm used to lawnmower carbs, and that's about it. Got 2-barrel Nicky's about the most complicated I've done. I'm thinking if I'm lucky, I can just pull the top off of this and get down in there and go, yep, that's fucked, and do nothing about it, or maybe scrape it off. What the hell did Dad Booker? Oh my God. So yeah, I've seen. Anyway, looking at this car, I'm kind of figuring out where hell I get all this tendency to jury rig stuff from. But anywho, I don't get any of this desire to have shiny chrome though. That must have been from Mom. Why everything I own is broken and dirty. But anywho, looks like there's no fuel sitting in the carburetor for the most part, and I'm going to look into see if I can take this whole top off. And yeah, just see if there's any kind of. I just want to get the grime out of there, because I know if I just leave that in there, it's basically going to be like glue, and it's going to spray right onto the intake valves, and we're going to have valves hang open. And in addition to having stuck rings and totally washed oil-free cylinder walls, we're going to have intake valves that hang open, and this shit is not going to make any kind of compression. Maybe if I'm lucky, I can just like hook an electric fuel pump onto this guy down here and just like pump some straight Berrymans into the fuel bowl, or I guess I can fill her up here actually. That is what that's for. Oh wow, whoa, that's clean. What the fuck? Is that the fuel bowl? But anywho, I think I can probably just pour some straight Berrymans right down into this guy and just let that marinate down in the fuel bowl. Alright, I was going to use a funnel, but that didn't work, so we're just going to free ball this, and hopefully we can fill the fuel bowl up somewhat. That is probably way too much, so perfect. Alright, well, I have probably dumped like maybe 4 or 5 ounces in there. Way too much. But I can report that it is spilling right the fuck out and flooding the intake, and if I push the accelerator pump works. So there we go. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't do horrible things to the crankcase, because it's just going to percolate right down into that. Well, after some groaning and bemoaning, I finally got the return line off, and it is bone dry. So, and it's also still nice and rubbery. So Dad was not lying about having never put ethanol gas in this. So I'm going to attempt to jam that back on. And I honestly think the fuel pump's fine. But I mean, we'll, what I'll do is I'll take the supply line here, take that off, and I will run a 3/8 line straight into a jug. And we'll run, because there's a lot of crud in the fuel tank, and I probably need to flush this line with a sucky boy a couple times just to get all that rust out of there, just so we don't throw it through the fuel pump while it's still in a tender state. But we'll run this off of a jug just to make sure everything's still working and the carburetor's not horribly wrong. If the carburetor's horribly wrong, then we'll pull it off and we'll rebuild it and do all that jazz, which I don't really want to do. Which means we'll definitely have to do it, because if you want to do something, you never need to. And when you don't want to do something, it always breaks. But anywho, when I was down here trying to get this off, I finally figured out where the drain plug is on the radiator. So I don't know how I missed that before, but oh god. But we will pull that out and drain all of the chunks that are clearly in this radiator out, although it does appear to be a brass or copper radiator, so that's nice. But yeah, I don't think there's supposed to be these big fucking white chunks of... God, that's like steel or something. Ugh. Anywho, but yeah, we can, oh, there's the actual drain cock, I think. We can get this gunk out of the... We can flush the cooling system now, so that's good. Alright, today's the day. Lord willing, we are going to rebuild all 4 brakes, get them back on the car, bleed them, and then swap in a new steering control pump, bleed that, and then hopefully put some fuel in an auxiliary fuel tank after we push the car out of the garage so I don't go deaf, get the thing idling so I can then adjust the steering control pump, or valve, whatever it is, and then maybe, just maybe, drive around the yard a little bit and then pull it back up and then go inside and have a beer because it'll be like 8 o'clock by the time I'm done. But Lord willing, it's 9:40 right now. I'm going to get this car back on the ground and potentially, maybe kind of, sort of, maybe running, depending on what the carburetor is doing. We'll see. Oh, yeah, I guess I can't drive it around the yard because of the auxiliary fuel tank. I don't want to fool with the carburetor at the moment, but we'll get it at least, hopefully, to the point where I can adjust that guy. But I have my bar oil catch over there because my chainsaw leaks like a tablespoon of bar oil every time you turn it off. It's really annoying. Anywho, I'm going to clean that out, and then I'm going to work on these brakes individually over there because there's a Carolina wren nest in that busted toolbox I pulled up off the side of the road, and I don't want to disturb her any more than I need to because it's like 50 something out today for some reason. It was 80 yesterday, but whatever. So I don't want her little baby birds in there to die, so I'm not going to bug them, and I'm going to sit over there and do it. Also, I'll be in the shade, but it's cold today, so I don't know. Anywho, I'm going to get the hell to it, and hopefully, maybe we'll have brakes that don't leak, and a steering system that doesn't leak, and a car that moves and stops and turns. You just have to wait and see. Alright, so I'm working on rear right brake caliper, and interesting development. So these definitely needed to be done, so I'm glad these failed so that I could see this and get in here and clean it. A lot of sediment down in there. Let me see if I can scrape some of that out. Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah. Is that I don't know if that's a passageway or a rust canker, but there's something going on down in there. Thankfully, Dad did put stainless steel sleeves in here. Well, he got a machine that had stainless steel sleeves put in there, and yeah, these cylinder walls are surprisingly perfect. Despite that, yeah. Here's the thing. There are no seals on here. And if you look right here, I am pressing on that with all my might, and as you can see, the piston is just sitting there. What's supposed to happen is I pop that seal out and the piston flies out underneath that spring because its natural resting state is there. So yeah, these seals have like swollen to the like side of the piston, which I guess is a good thing. But they've also kind of like disintegrated at the same time. This is the mung that is sitting between that seal and the outer seal, between that O-ring-ish thing and the outer seal. So yeah, that's what I've already scraped off. So I'm gonna have to, so I'm hoping I can just douse this thing in brake clean and it'll all just clean up perfectly, all pretty like. And I can just throw it all back together, and that'll be it. And hopefully I won't have to do a whole bunch of work and get in here and find out that I've got like a snapped spring or like a melted piston or something, and then just have to buy new calipers because I'm not throwing any more money at these. If I have to, you know, I might spring for, well, springs. I would have got springs, but I couldn't get them. I guess I could try pistons, but if one of these sleeves is bad, I'm just going to buy new calipers because I don't want to screw with it. But anywho, I'm going to shut up and get back to this. Thankfully, these grade 8s that are holding the thing together actually look pristine, so that's nice. They were on there with like 100 foot-pounds of torque, though, so that's not so nice. Alright, well, I eventually got all 4 of them out. Originally, I was taking my seal puller guy, and I was taking the hook and sticking it right on this lip and just kind of pulling it, and that worked fine for the ones that weren't stuck, but then this one was super duper stuck, and what I eventually figured out is I can just stick the seal puller down here and do like that, and then I don't have any potential of accidentally damaging that sealing surface if my hand slips or something like that. So we did that. It eventually came out. I hope that was the one that was fighting me. It might have been this one. It might have been that one, but the ones on the outside really didn't fight me. The ones on the inside side of the caliper did fight. I just cleaned this one up with 4/0 steel wool and a greenie pad, and that's pretty, there's one real nasty pit right there. But the only surfaces that matter are up here for the outer seal and in here for the inner seal. And I'm not worried about that inner seal too much. We'll see how this one looks. If this one has any severe pitting in that inner seal, then, well, I'm shit out of luck for today. Well, I can pull everything apart and clean it, but I have to order pistons, so we shall see. Hopefully I don't, but yeah. I was trying to save like $90 on this repair job, but may not. Maybe I should have just bought new calipers. Alright, so I've been working at this one brake caliper for going on, we're about an hour and a half now. And here are my 4 pistons. As you can see, the inner half fared better than the outer half, but that one that fought me, I'm not so certain about it. Pretty much all the anodization has been taken off. The sealing surface does not actually look horrible, other than, you know, those little tiny microscopic pits where it has worn down to the raw aluminum. So I am still going to throw this back together and see if it works. Okay, driver's side rear is apart, totally different story. This side, the inner side, was totally functional. I just pressed all the pistons in, they came all back up, popped the seal out, whole thing flopped out. I just peeled the rubber off all of these with my fingers. These look really good. Well, relative to the other one. This side was a little bit worse. As you can see, this one does have some aluminum corrosion on it. And this was the worst one. It was down in here, but as you can see, it's not really corroded. It was just like, well, the top is. But the bottom sealing surface is not. It was, for whatever reason, this entire cone up in here was just packed full of this crud. I'm not sure why, but it was. But it was free, but it was just kind of like stuck in there. And as soon as I popped the seal out, I just went and pulled it right out. So, yeah, I don't feel anything wrong with the, ooh, there might be something on that. There's a ridge on that one. We'll see if that's just mung, or I think it's just mung, but piston's looking way better shape. So I think that one piston over there is really the only iffy one. And I think what I'll do is I'll put that on the outside up at the top by the bleeder, so that, you know, if it does leak, it leaks only a little bit. And, you know, if I have spongy rear brakes, doesn't really matter all that much. But if it's a big issue, then I'll just rebuild them again. Oh, what is a day of my life? But anywho, I'm going to take these over to the parts washing station, which is right here. Spray the snot out of them. Do the same dealio, but hopefully this will only take, who are you and why are you here? Hopefully that should only take 45 minutes. And then I think we will rebuild these if this one is indeed far better than that one. So, looking up just a little bit. Hopefully the front holds out. Alright, those have all been cleaned up. Here's the worst one. A lot, probably similar amounts of corrosion, but a lot less on the actual sealing surfaces, so I'm not worried about that. Alright, now I am going to attempt to find a correctly sized socket to drive these in, but I think it's time we actually slap these bad boys together and hope for the best. Alright, so we are fucking done for today. I do not have the patience for this shit right now. I just had a big wind blast come through and just blow sugar sand into all of the fucking freshly cleaned calipers. God, I fucking hate not having power. Anywho, we have an unexpected development. For whatever reason, these fucking garbage AC Delco seals will not seal inside of the caliper housing. They go in, and I can't push it in there because of the fucking lip in there, but I get everything in there, line it all up, get an exactly, perfectly, could not be any more precise sized socket, tap it in there, and as soon as I let off, it goes, pops right out. Don't know why it's like that, but it is. So I'm gonna have to order another rear seal kit, because I don't know what the hell is wrong with these, but they are not to spec, they are not sealing, and I do not have the patience for it right now. I've already spent half a fucking day working on 2 fucking calipers. Anywho, I'm just livid at the moment. It's how everything on this fucking Corvette goes. I try and... or at this point, I think I'm just going to buy new calipers because I don't want to have to spend the time. I think, yeah, I'm done. I'm done putting time into these brakes. I'm just going to throw $500 at a set of 4 calipers, throw them on the Corvette, and hope that they are rated for .5 silicone brake fluid. Or I'm going to cry and probably dump the thing in the river. I'm done for today. All right. So I went inside, had 1 or 7 beers for lunch, let myself simmer down, did a big think, and calculated all the math, and I decided to just buy new calipers. And did the math, and after core charges and everything, it's only going to be like $380 to just buy new calipers. And, you know, for $40 more, why not? And there's also the peace of mind that I have brand new pistons the whole way around. Additionally, well, I already went and bought them. And I also bought a new master cylinder because might as well. You know, another $50, and then I have a mostly rebuilt brake system except for the lines. Just flush the lines, pour in new fluid, and I don't have to deal with getting all the gunk out of the master cylinder. So yeah, so I ordered up some more .5, and I ordered up 4 new caliper, or 4 rebuilt Ray Bestos calipers, as well as a new master. And so we're just going to throw all of that in. Clean up the old pads, clean up the old rotors, you know. They need to be turned. They've got, you know, some texture to them. No grooves, but definitely some texture. Yeah, is what it is. I'll get to that in another 2 weeks or so whenever that shows up and I have time. I probably won't have time for another 2 months. That's what really has me pissed off, is I have been trying to do this for like 3 months or so, and I have just not had the time, the initiative, and the weather all lining up at the same time, and I finally made all of those. Went out, did it, everything there, and I got screwed over by AC Delco. The actual goddamn OEM manufacturer for the parts does not make backwards compatible parts for this caliper. So, anywho, I'm mad. So I am trying to work on the steering control valve now because I at least want to get something accomplished this weekend. And so far, no real issues, except I can't really get that rear locking bolt out. I'm just trying to drain everything right now. Okay, well, I got a couple more cans of brake cleaner, so we are going to clean pads and rotors now. If I can figure out where the heck I put the rear pads. And just see whether or not these rotors need to be turned. They may not actually need to be turned. I may just be able to hit them with some like 600 grit or something and call it a day. But I'm going to at least clean all the mung off them and throw them right back up in here. And then the pads, you know, they've got plenty of mung on them as well, so I should probably hit them while I'm at it. Okay, well, after substantial beating, neither of the front brake rotors want to come off, so they're not getting machined because I'm not opening that can of worms. They'll just self-clearance. I mean, they're not grooved or anything. They're just rusty as all sin with a little bit of pitting from where they sat. But, yeah, I have beat the shit out of them, and there is like a 64th of an inch of play. And I'm sure they're just rusted to the hubs. And no, they don't. The race does not sit in these rotors like they do on a lot of cars. These are just regular ass rotors sitting on a hub. And for whatever reason, they're not coming off. So they'll just have to stay there, and I'll just brake clean them as best I can without disintegrating what remains of these poor ball joint boots. But anywho, that's a future Tom problem in 40 years. I'll put enough heat cycles on them, they'll be fine. But I'm just going to clean the schnoz out of this as best as I can, and then just throw it right back in there. And then, yeah, we're not going to turn them. If I can't turn the fronts, I'm not going to waste time turning the rears. We'll just let them self-clearance. Alright, well, those are sprayed, and you can see all of the black that has leached out of them, and I also sprayed the front rotors as best as I could. I'm gonna go wipe everything down now, just so, you know, I don't end up looking like this all the time. Alright, it's a week later, and I am about $650 poorer, but after core core charge, I'm only going to be like 480, no, probably $500 after I ship it back, dollars poorer. So, bought 2 more quarts of the very expensive, like $30 a bottle .5 silicone brake fluid, new master cylinder, and new calipers for all 4 corners. I'm gonna have to send those guys back for the core charge. So I have like 3.5 hours of daylight left in my Saturday, and I don't have a Sunday. So yeah, I'm gonna attempt to do this, or at least I want to get all the calipers mounted and hooked up to lines so that I can return those and get my core charge back, because I want my money. Anywho, I just went ahead and bought a new master. You know, I'm already dropping $400 something on calipers. Might as well spend another $50, get a master, and just swap it out. It's, you know, not a huge ordeal. Just line, bolt, pop it off. Well, take all the fluid out first. Then I gotta bleed it, but we'll probably just not, or we will. I'll probably try and do that first before it starts raining, so that I can get that bled on the bench. Unless my lines don't fit, then I won't. But yeah, thankfully I was smart enough and I bought new crush washers, because it's always a great feeling when you open up the big box of brake calipers and there's just a crush washer laying on the ground. Why can't these manufacturers just pay for a fucking like dime bag and just throw the crush washer in there? Like, I have had so many times I've bought suspension components and stuff and they just throw loose nuts and washers in the box, and of course it's like a 60-pound part and it just beats the box to death, and then oops, you just don't have the new hardware. Guess you better use that old rusty crap you wanted to replace. Anywho, I'm going to stop ranting. I'm also going to try and put the fuel pump in, because I got all the hoses off of it, and I think I got enough arm room underneath that, as well as up here on top. Oh, did I lose? No, crush washer's still there. That I might as well just do it. I'm already in here. I should hopefully have enough room to scrape the old gasket off. Already bought it. Might as well do it. Because once I take it off jack stands, I ain't putting it back up on jack stands for a while. So yeah, I'm going to shut the hell up and just hit this hot and heavy, and I will get back when I have had a massive setback and am delayed another 3 weeks because I don't have a weekend next weekend. Or when I'm done. One of the two. We'll see. Okay, so quick update. Got the old master cylinder off, and I'm over here trying to lazy man gravity bleed option A, the master cylinder. And it's already been sitting for like 15 minutes, and I think it's probably going to rain, so I think I'm just going to hurry that up and we'll just burn all the seals up. But it's a good thing I bought a master, because this one had failed internally. So brake booster is potentially filled with silicone brake fluid, which is not good. I don't think it is, because the seal was still intact. I took the seal out and cleaned it, and there was actually a wet spot underneath it, so I think we're good. I think the booster is not full of silicone brake fluid, because silicone brake fluid is full of silicone. And if you read the first, like, all but last letter of silicone, it's silicon. And so this stuff contains silicon. So when it burns, it turns into silica powder, which is an abrasive. So if you start sucking silicone brake fluid through your brake booster back into the engine at high RPM, you're basically spraying like 3,200 grit sand just into the engine, which is not good for making the engine not die immediately. So good thing that we bought a new one of those. So I'm going to get back to this, and I think we're just going to have to diddle it, because it's not being fast enough for my liking. Whoops. You'll deal with it. Alright, master cylinder is in without pretty much any trouble, and front left brake caliper is in without any trouble. And it looks like I think they are actually giving me 2 crush washers, which is big money for Ray Bestos. That is an instant, you just won yourself a customer, giving 2 crush washers. That is huge. Nobody does that. Most companies don't even give you 1. Okie dokie. Front right is done. Rear right is done. And if you'll believe it, rear left is done. I even remembered to hook up the rear sway bar links as well. And that's only 1 beer. and 2.5 hours and beer on my floor. And yeah, that went well. No issues at all, which is weird. So I think what I'm going to do is take the lid off the Master, fill it up all the way, and try and gravity bleed these guys just to let as much air go into the lines as I can. And then I think I'm going to go get Dad, and I think we're just going to bleed it the old-fashioned way, all the way around. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to tackle the fuel pump because I'm here and I'm already greasy, and I have the ambition, so I guess just knock those two nuts off after I pull all 3 hoses off and just hope for the best. And then hopefully new one should just slide right in and the old gasket is not glued to the whole damn thing. Okay, well, I nearly got the fuel pump off, and then I said, yeah, maybe I should make sure I have the right fuel pump. And sure enough, I don't. This one does not have a return line on it. So after I just spent 30 minutes backing that nut or bolt out and finally getting it off, I'm going to stick it right back in and put everything back together and pretend I didn't do anything because I got to return that. And I'm probably past the point where I can return it, so I got to buy another pump. I'm pretty fucking certain I ordered the one with the return line, but whatever. Sucks to be me. It is now officially dark as dicks o'clock. I tried to replace the fuel pump, as you saw, and it ended up being the wrong pump. It is not even close to the right pump. Like, the canister on the thing is like 1/4 the size. So I either fucked that up or Rock Auto fucked that up, but somebody fucked up really hard. It was probably me, but anywho, hopefully I can still return it and get my $40 back. But anywho, I set everything to gravity bleed, and as you can see, that one gravity bled. However, none of the other 3 did. Dad came out here, helped me bleed the brakes, and we could not get any fluid or... I got one whiff of air to come off of that brake caliper, and then it stopped, and I could not get anything to come out of any of them except for this one. So I bled this one most of the way. Then I busted out the trusty old sucky boy, and I have fluid coming from all 4 calipers now, and I did those in the correct order. So those are good. We have some amount of fluid in all of them. Still a shit ton of air in the lines that needs to be bled out. But I'm hoping all that'll kind of percolate up and out through the master cylinder as it sits overnight, and we shouldn't have just a massive fuck ton of air everywhere. But I don't know. Probably won't. I'll probably still have spongy brakes because the brakes are spongy as fuck. Anywho, I'm tired. I'm working all day. I'm going to go in, finish my beer, and eat some food. But before I do that, I'm going to tighten this little mirror right here because it needs to be tightened. And it's bothering the fuck out of me. Not perfect, but much better. Alright, it's the next day. We have progress updates. All 4 brakes have been bled. I only ran the rear chamber on the master cylinder dry twice. So rears are probably a bit still spongy, but I did the fronts correctly. There might still be air in them. I can't really tell. I don't think I'm getting a good seal with my bleeder hose. And I think it's pushing some air into the hose every time. So I'm getting like the exact same like bubble impulse, and I just said it's good enough. We'll probably have to come back and do it once we've driven the car around a little bit and let it warmed up. We'll bleed them again. Additionally, I have used Persuasion, aka this cheap Chinese high torque impact that does like 350 foot-pounds, to persuade that bolt out, and it didn't even snap in half. So don't know what the deal was, but I can now spin it on and off without, any assistance. I think the lock nut might have got stuck or something. But anywho, that has come out, so we can do the control valve. It is not a bugaboo anymore, and I don't have to buy a new set of steering links because I'm not going to snap the bolt off. So great, that's good news. But we will hold off on that until the car has been thoroughly tested. But before we do that, the next step is greasing all the grease points. Up here, upper ball joint, down there somewhere, lower ball joint, over here, tie rod end, and then additionally We have all 4 U-joints on the half shafts, and then I believe there's also Zerk fittings on, yep, probably the 2 other ones up on the drive shaft, maybe more. So that's at least 12 Zerk fittings I gotta grease. And I might as well grease the steering control valve for the hell of it too. So 13, something like that. I need to look at all the tie rod or all the other bits of the steering linkage system as well and grease them if they need it. I think they all have grease points, but might as well do that while it's already got the wheels off and it's up on the lift. Then, once that's done, I'm going to hook this jobber that I've had laying over here all set up. Oh god, I have a mason wasp in there. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Get out of there, little bugger. Well, that sucks. Alright, so I decided to check the battery and it is very dead, so that's not a good sign. So hopefully that is not entirely fucked. But we'll hook it up on the charger and boil it. I am going to try to hook the auxiliary fuel tank, hook the line up down here to the fuel pump onto that black line right there. And then, if we can get that hooked up and the battery charged, I'm going to try and use the boat pump to fill the fuel line up with gas and then see if the engine will run. And if it does and the fuel pump works, then we'll call it good for now, and then we can throw some gas in it and maybe drive it around. I went and located all the grease points I could. 2 on each half shaft, 2 on the main drive shaft. As you saw before, upper, lower, tie rod end. Then also, there is 1 on that steering link. And then if we go to the other side, we have 1 on that steering link, 1 up there on that guy, and 1 over yonder on the slave cylinder. And that is all of them. Oh, and the steering control valve. That's all of them I can find. So I'll do that before it ever moves, but I would like to test the engine to make sure the fuel pump works before I put gas in the tank and don't replace the fuel pump. So I would rather do that with just a couple ounces of gas in the system rather than a couple gallons in the tank. So yeah, I'm going to charge that up. Now I'm going to attempt to get that guy hooked up, and we'll circle back when I have a charged battery. Man, rain is really loud in this metal garage. Anywho, that is now hooked up, routed up to this guy. And I just have a 3/8 bolt jammed in there just so the critters stay out. And I'm going to have to rig up something to run this line down into here. I wonder if these caps that I got, these non-anti-spill things, will work or not. Hopefully I can just hose clamp, drop that line down into the spout of one of those and hose clamp that on there, and it'll be, you know, leak free. So we'll test that. But I have a battery I got to go charge, and thankfully I've got you know, front to post adapters. So yep. Well, we'll get back to this in a week or 7. Look at that. Perfect. Beautiful. By the way, fuck these no-spill nozzles. They work all right for like 2-3 months, and then the ethanol rots all the rubber in them, and then they work like shit. Just go pick you up I think this was like 25 bucks, and it gave me 4 spouts. Way better. You just put a vent cap on the back when you're pouring, you just pop that off. When you're done, you pop it on. It's got a little twist-on lid with rubber. The only thing that would, you know, make this better is if this had like a little, came like pre-cut with a little hole, and there was like a little nub sticking out of here, so you could just tie a string to it or something, piece of copper or something, so it could dangle. You know, I might just, you know, try and jury rig that somehow, but these things are great. They're awesome. I started switching over to these not too long ago, and just so much better. Also, I just realized there is a doohickey down in here that's going to prevent me from jamming this all the way in. So we'll just ignore that. Well, here we go again. She is just sucking them amps. Oh boy, I hope I don't melt my cooler. Well, after 6 hours of charging, we appear to be good. So I'll charge that some more tonight. I let it sit overnight after charging 6 hours and it read 12.9, so I think our battery's good. We might have lost some capacity, but we still have all the cells, so nothing lost. No big loss. All right, battery is back in the car, charged up just fine. Dome light is on, so I guess let's see if this thing will idle off of straight Berryman's, or at least if the fuel pump works. Then we can work on the idle after that. Okay, so to test the function of the fuel pump, what I've done is what I showed you yesterday. I have plumbed this piece of 3/8 fuel line down into this gas can full of E-free leaded substitute gas with some Berryman's in it. And then I have just hose clamped that on there just so it doesn't, wiggle out. And I have this boat primer bulb on here, and I am just going to squeeze this until I see fuel come into the bottom of the fuel filter, and then from there we'll crank the keys and we'll see if that fuel filter fills up. And the fuel filter fills up, then we know that it's pumping gas. And hopefully by that point it'll be trying to run off the Berryman's, and then we'll know if the carburetor is at least functioning well enough that it's pulling fuel and it's not entirely clogged, but we shall see. So I'm gonna go grab Dad and the tripod, and we will see if we can get this sucker to run finally today. All right, here goes nothing. Oh, I should probably pop this, shouldn't I? Oh, there we go. Ooh, that's deliciously colored. All right, I'll watch the fuel filter. You hit it. Ready? Yeah.
Pump your gas?
Yeah, that's trying.
Pump your gas.
Well, you don't have any gas. Oh, give it another go. It's doing something. Here, well, it looks like it's working. Let me just prime it all the way.
Okay. Put something in the gas tank. In the carburetor.
All right, I think it's good. Good. Alright.
Let's squirt a little bit in the carburetor.
Well, if I got any, well, I'm out. Here, just run the accelerator a couple of times. You may need to open the choke. Oh, the choke was closed, that's why, or open. All right, now try. and gas everywhere.
Well, your contraption fell apart.
Ah, that's interesting.
What's that?
Oh, fuck. I didn't have anything hooked up to the return line. Oh, Jesus. Duh.
Pour the gas on the ground.
Yeah. Okay, so after a small panic, we're good. We actually fired it back up again. It runs great. So that's the hard part done. However, I did have to go down in there. The issue we were having, it was pissing gas everywhere because I forgot about the whole, it has a return line. So it was returning to the tank, and then it got just high enough that it got pulled up into the sock somehow and was pissing out on the floor. I've replaced that. That is water coolant. That's the drain hose for the overflow, but anywho. But there was a crack in the return line, so I had to pull that off, trim it, put that back on. That's fine now. Car's running great. I just went and put about a gallon and a half in the tank just so we could leak test it, and regrettably, there's gas. And let me see if I can show it to you. Yep, it looks like our gas tank is kaput. Because it's pissing gas down here onto the bushing, all down the frame. Looks like it's up there. It might be that rubber line. Oh, yep. Yep. So those lines are all corroded. And it looks like the tank has a pinhole. So, we are delayed yet again. But she runs. She runs beautifully. So after we ran it the second time, I'm happy to report that brake lights work, the flashers work, both headlights come up and they work. Let's see, I have great oil pressure. It's sitting at like 45 psi. The coolant is not leaking yet, surprisingly. We have built pressure in the cooling system. It's up to about probably 120, 130 Fahrenheit. Let's see, it looks like the alternator may not be working. It was working the first time when Dad was in there. I got in there and ran it, and the ammeter was down a significant amount, so don't know what that's about. Fuel pump is working flawlessly, but it looks like we're going to have to replace all the rubber lines and the fuel tank. So, yeah. I think that's it for now. We've made significant progress, but now we have been set back significantly, yet again. So I'm going to call the video here because I'm high on gasoline and I can't think really good right now, but it's cheaper than beer. Well, not with today's gas prices, but normally it is. So yeah, if you like what I'm doing here, go down there, give the video a like, comment, tell me anything else that I should investigate on the C3s that may potentially be at fault, other than the entire fuel system and entire brake system. Well, I already did that. And yeah, if you want to see the rest of these series, you're going to have to go down there and subscribe. And until next time, Tom out.